So I'm not going to beat around the bush on this one. I was in Japan recently, and it was awesome. My family and I had saved up enough to spend around 2 weeks there, and while we made sure to save where possible, we had a great time. I did do the boring tourist thing of only really visiting the Golden Triangle, as in Tokyo and the Kansai areas, two most notable cities, but there's a reason these places are popular, because they're pretty damn nice. But I'm not here to vlog, because there is no way I could make this interesting for you or me. Last I checked, my surname is not Ceto Pants. You didn't watch my channel for updates on where I've been. You want to watch me to hear me talk about anime. And I went to the place that makes the anime, so surely I might have seen some things related to anime, right? I just might have. Now, most of my time was spent in Tokyo, and it was where we were staying first. Actually, the first anime reference I saw was literally as I got off the bus, as Japan is a land of vending machines, and the very first vending machine I laid my eyes on was doing a Bunny Girl Senpai promotion with Mai Sakurajima brandishing some tea. This ended up having more significance than initially let on, but that's something I'll get to later, because there was another vending machine anime reference literally just 2 blocks away, because I found another one doing an Oshinoko promotion, and using Oshinoko's best girl, if I may add. Now, to get oriented on my first day, I did a walking tour that started in Shibuya, and wouldn't you know it, directly across from Shibuya Crossing was a street where the only music they played was motherfucking Hosho Marin, and not just any Hosho Marin song either, I should add. I'm talking her most recent one, you know, the one about being a horny pirate having an identity crisis. Upon hearing that a song about being a horny pirate could be played on the corner of probably the busiest intersection on the planet, I got the feeling I was gonna like it here. The walking tour also took me north into the Harajuku and Omotesando areas, which I recognised a tiny bit from Love Live Superstar. And indeed, this area was proudly showing its pride in Layla because of a whole-ass store in the area devoted to Love Live merch, emphasis once again on Layla. I just want to go on a side tangent for a moment, because if Ubisoft ever make a District Liberation open world game set in Tokyo, then the enemy strongholds for each district will just be an outlet of gamers corresponding to each sub-series of Love Live. As mentioned, the Harajuku outlet was focused on Love Live Superstar, but the Odaiba outlet was focused on the Nijigasaki girls, and the Akihabara store was focused on school idol projects, but it sold goods from other series as well. This is great for me, as here in the West, even on the rare chance that someone is stocking Love Live goods, it will only be from school idol projects, so I think it's great that all of the places selling Love Live merch were also selling Nijigasaki Superstar and Sunshine goods of all forms, which is great. Apart from the doujinshi, that is. Nozo Eri still very much holds a monopoly in that space. But I did not go to Japan to buy things. Lord knows I do not have the money to do that. And indeed, I didn't actually buy any anime goods aside from a couple of figures that were going for less than a tenner. But I did manage to make a few pilgrimages to some spots that featured in some anime I watched. Now, this was made a lot easier with the help of something I found at the Suginami Anime Museum. Not only was this a great exhibition on its own, detailing the long history of the medium, and the staff were also really nice, but they gave me access to the 88 anime spots map of Japan. Now, this map is not perfect, since I think there are spots from anime I think more tourists are familiar with than let's make a mug. But it really helps you get around if you want to find these places, especially if you like Love Live, because my god, Love Live is mentioned at least 6 times on this map. It has become too powerful. Now, a site that wasn't on the map, which I made sure to visit, were the stairs in Yotsuya, which were the inspiration for the final scene of Your Name. On top of this, on the way up to the Tokyo Metropolitan Observation Deck, I managed to find this intersection, which took me a full 10 minutes to realise, oh yeah, this is where the time lapses take place in Your Name. Of course, the Tokyo Metropolitan building itself features in an anime, namely Zankyu no Terra, where the first episode sees the protagonist plant improvised explosive devices on the observation decks and blow it up. I'm starting to see why they didn't put that on the brochure. But I also went to some other places. Indeed, in the Kansai region, I went to Nara, Kyoto, and Osaka. Osaka did have its own answer to Akiba in Denden Town. And comparing it with Akiba, I can tell you that the surprising favourites for anime figures were either Licorice Recoil or, weirdly, Majo no Tabi Tabi. Osaka itself didn't have that many anime references, I noticed, although Dotonbori was the inspiration for a lot of the aesthetics in Akudama Drive. However, Kyoto more than made up for it, as not only was one of the only bits of graffiti I saw there inspired by Bocchi the Rock, at least I'd like to think it was, but the station also had a full section dedicated to a Hibike Sound Euphonium promo. This is also where I found the Manga Museum, which has a rather interesting story behind it, as it's based on the site of an old primary school which has since been remade into a vast collection of manga by one of its former pupils, and it has a very impressive exhibition on the production of manga as well. That same day I made the trip up to Shimogamo Delta, which some of you might know from the K-On! Opening as well as the Tatami Galaxy, and the famous Dai kanji that that lights up in Diamonji is actually visible all year round, and you can see it carved into the center of the cliffside. Also, in keeping with the Tatami Galaxy references, I bought myself a Castella, and having had it, I can tell you that it tastes finished writing description once I've actually eaten some Castella. I should really read over these scripts before I start recording the narration, shouldn't I? One of the detours I made to the Golden Triangle was to go to Nagoya, because I was visiting Ghibli Park, specifically the wonderful warehouse exhibit that they have based off some of the works of Studio Ghibli. It was a really great park, no rides or anything, just a wonderfully realised recreation of some of the areas from those films. The bit they had based on Arrietty especially was really well done, and it did something that not many other things can, which is remind me that the film Arrietty exists, and no one really talks about it for some reason. But next to that exhibition is an ice rink. Since we got there a little before our tickets allowed us to go into the warehouse, we waited in the stands of this ice rink for about an hour, and I noticed that there were two people specifically shredding the ice who were dressed as Tanjiro and Zenitsu. Not just like a coat or anything, I mean these people were wearing the full wigs and everything. They even committed to character in how they were skating, because the person dressed as Tanjiro was a lot more skillful than the person playing Zenitsu. Also, the mere existence of an ice rink is a clear reference to Death Parade. I want to top things off by talking about Kanagawa Prefecture. This is a place I visited on 2 separate occasions, and ran into a surprising amount of anime references in both. First time was completely unintentional as well. I was just minding my business in a sulfur volcano, as you do, went to the bottom of the mountain, and then found out that, for some reason, in 2020, a group of marketing executives said, "Know what this place needs?" That's right, shitloads of Evangelion promotional material. They had a model of Eva 01, they had Nerve merchandise, they even had a Nerve branded elevator, which only went down 1 floor. Now I assume it would take 3 minutes to get down there. Now the other time I went to Kanagawa was to visit a place you might have heard of called Enoshima. You might have heard of this because it's featured in a few anime, most recently Bocchi the Rock. You might remember in that episode they take the escalator to get up to the top of the shrine as they are too tired walking up the stairs, and let me say, Bocchi made the wrong decision. It is a wonderful walk, and contrary to the anime, not actually all that tiring. It's actually quite easy. Bocchi has a fucking skill issue. This was the last place I visited while in Japan, as in I literally got on the plane 4 hours later, and while there I saw something that perfectly capped off the trip. The sun was setting to the west, and as I looked across the water, I saw, silhouetted against the clouds, Mount Fuji. I hadn't been able to see it the last time I'd been in Kanagawa, but there it was, bathed in the last golden embers of the sun, and yes, it was really something special. And that would have been a beautiful end to the holiday. But it didn't quite end there, did it? Because when I got back to the station, they had another fucking Bunny Girl Senpai promotion at Enoshima, because yes, this is also one of the main reasons I went. It's where Sakata and Koga had their date in the second arc of Bunny Girl Senpai. And I think that was the real perfect ending to the holiday, because it started the same way it ended, with me having to explain to my parents about how a show called Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai is not actually just porn. And you know what? I like the spirit of ending things the way they started, because I'm ending this video the same way it started. Abruptly.